Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Edit Place. And today we're doing something a little bit different here. And I want to talk about how Apple, Samsung, and pretty much every other phone manufacturer is fooling you. So, you know how every time they release a new product or are on stage promoting it, they usually have some sort of fancy new commercial, ad, show reel, whatever that shows off the amazing capabilities of the new camera. Now, of course, you're most likely blown away from it and you order this device, you get it in hand and you start taking videos, pictures, whatever, and you quickly realize, why aren't my videos and photos looking like the ones from the commercial? In this video, we're going to talk about all the reasons why that is the case and how you can do some things to get a little bit closer to the quality from the actual promo videos. Now, in this video, we're mostly going to be talking about the iPhone commercials and the latest Samsung Unpacked event, but this literally applies to any major phone manufacturer, so it's all the same. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is hardware. Now, while you're watching some of these commercials, you may notice that good old disclaimer text across the bottom of the screens. You may have seen something called extra hardware used. Now, what does that mean in terms of phones? Well, first I'll show you this picture right here. So this was actually used on a previous Apple Shot on iPhone campaign commercial. Now, what you can see is very clearly that there is indeed an iPhone in the middle there. It looks like, I don't know, could be anything from a 6 to a XS Max or something. But that is indeed an iPhone, basically on a custom milled camera cage. And then we have essentially a DOF adapter, which if you go to my main channel, I've done tons of camera reviews in the past 6 months or so with the DOF adapter, the iPhone, Samsung's, Sony Xperia's, and they're cool devices. They basically allow you to adapt a extra set of lens in front of your phone's camera to then use any sort of lens you want. I use my Cine lenses, as well as in this photo, we can see some Zeiss Cine lens used as well. The DOF adapter, as the name suggests, adds depth of field, which is basically the biggest thing that mobile phones lack. Resolution's great, frame rate's great, dynamic range has gotten a lot better, color science, but the sensors themselves are so small and the optics are all so small that having nice depth of field for like portraits, close-ups is still very hard. And we can see other examples of different hardware being used to create these commercials. Again, this is the vertical cinema challenge that they did. It was a big campaign, this big long video. Well, they also made this behind the scenes. They're not really trying to hide anything anymore because, again, the phones have gotten good enough to where a lot of it is used without extra cinema lenses or things like that. But we'll see a couple key pieces of hardware here. So on this rig right here, which is used for a shot where the actor is going to kind of fall over, you can see it's rigged to him. It gives a really cool perspective. I've seen this in movies a bunch. Really cool. Now, there is an iPhone in there, they pointed out, but we also see that we have a wireless transmitter. My guess is so that this is a director's viewfinder, big V-mount battery here. And then in the previous shot, you can see on the front, they've essentially duct taped or gaff taped a ND filter in front of the lens. Putting an ND filter in front of the lens allows you to keep a slower shutter speed, which is going to give you more realistic motion blur. If they weren't using this and you just were filming on a very bright sunny day as they are here, the phone is going to use a very fast shutter speed. It's going to look unnatural, definitely non-cinematic. So behind the stuntman who is jumping off the roof of the building here, you can see this crane, this what I believe techno crane with a crazy gimbal. I mean, the fact that there is a little dinky iPhone on this probably $1 million techno crane, I don't think most of us have one of those lying in our bedrooms. And again, in this shot here, you can see another ridiculous contraption. Again, an iPhone being plugged in and charging there. And we can see him putting on, actually, that's a straight up Moment lens. So shout out to Moment for, I'm guessing, one of their ultra wide lenses, it looks like. So again, adding optics on top of the additional hardware just to make it work for whatever shot they're doing. But what they are doing in here is basically showing you yes, this is what is technically capable of the iPhone, and that's amazing. The same reason why this blows you away is the same reason when you watch like Peter McKinnon or Becky and Chris do something. Not to take away from their actual skills as photographers and cinematographers, but what definitely helps is when you have the actual important things to a production, which, here's a hint, it's not the camera. It is set design, it is costume, it is choreographies. This dude is doing flips and everything. Because of all the fancy action that's happening on screen, you're less likely to actually pixel peep and analyze it as if they just uploaded this still image and said, hey, here's, a photo taken on the iPhone 12 or whatever. And by the way, this entire campaign was for the 11 Pro, so this was last year's. Now, kudos to them. This year for the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro, they went even more minimalist. They hired experts, award-winning cinematographers to work on their stuff. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this guy's last name, but Emmanuel. He created this short film, and you can literally see he's using an iPhone 12 Pro and maybe 12 Pro Max and literally $50 gimbal or something. And that's all he's using. No huge cranes and multi-million dollar worth of equipment here. Yes, he still has crews, but he's relying far more on just his skill as a cinematographer, as well as, again, the set design, the actors, the costumes, the props. All that is way more fascinating. And then you get a couple shots like this, which just really sell the camera. But if you want to get good at watching these promos and actually understand how confident the people are in their camera, one of the telltale signs is how long do they keep the shot on for. So in this film, all the shots hold for a decent length. So I believe even behind him, like all this behind the scenes stuff is still shot on the iPhone 12, and then cuts to some of his shots. And most of them hold for a couple seconds, which in terms of films is a long time. Now interject that to the Samsung event, but the faster you cut, you'll see that a lot in promos because they don't want you to pixel peep. They don't want you to pause and be like, whoa, the highlights are super blown out here because it's a really harsh lighting source. Oh no, it's technically not blown out in that shot, but like every other shot it is. Yep, there it is, hair blown out. Apple did a student film thing. I believe this was also for the iPhone 12 Pro. And again, they kind of go back to using a lot of crazy gear. It's not as crazy. Like this isn't $1 million techno crane. This is probably like $200, $300 worth of rigging equipment and then an iPhone at the end. But here you got dollies and it does get pretty crazy. But again, you have crews. People know what they're doing. Cinematographers who are lighting properly, all that stuff. And finally, for the last way that they like to kind of trick you a little bit is by mixing in demo video with cinematic video filmed on an actual cinema camera. So in this promo, for example, most of the shots are shot on like probably an RE Alexa, maybe a Red, but an actual film camera. And then, people are filming with an iPhone. It looks all great. Looks so good. Look, it's so good. And then, we give you a preview of what the iPhone is seeing. We're still doing a cinematic way. Cinema camera, cinema camera, cinema camera, cinema camera. iPhone shot. I think you guys get the picture here. So it's about fast editing and mixing cameras so that way you have some of it shot on a really nice fancy camera to establish things, and then you cut to the actual sample photographs or video, whatever you're showing. But the ultimate key here is, of course, they're using people who know what the heck they're talking about. All right, so what can you do? See, this is something that frustrated me for a long time. It's the reason that I was always so quick to try and buy a newer camera and upgrade constantly, is because I thought that is what would make my stuff look better and get me to the top faster. So off the top of my head, there are about 4 components to every video that you need to make sure you're hitting in order to get something that is going to look really good, regardless of what camera you're shooting on. First up is going to be your lighting. This you need to play towards the strength of your camera, which is why testing is done anytime someone films on a new camera. For example, my Blackmagic Pocket 6K right now has pretty good dynamic range, so I can keep this big lighting source relatively lower, and I'm not going to have a lot of noise in the shadows here. This image looks totally fine. I'm also shooting in RAW. If I was using a phone, I want to light everything up as much as possible because you can then lower it in post, because phones have very small sensors and their noise levels just get kind of crazy. So you need to understand lighting both to play to the strengths and deliver on the style that you're trying to convey in whatever video it is. Next up, you have set. This one is hugely important. Half the time you're not blown away by the actual image quality, you're blown away by the snowtop Canadian mountains or cityscapes of New York's bright and beautiful lights. So you need to take the time to location scout, to help set dress, which is when you put props and practical lights. And again, whatever it is you're filming, spend some time planning on the actual environment you're going to be filming in. And that goes for costumes and the actors and all that stuff as well. 3 is kind of your constant movement. Movement is going to help an audience, again, keep understanding that a next image is about to come, a next image is about to come, and it will leave them not analyzing every frame as much. This is why when you do decide to hold on an image, it becomes that much more important to the audience, and doesn't mean you have to do everything like a freaking action movie where everything is constant chaos. It just means you want to plan out your movements, whether that's a slow dolly in, a tracking shot, pan tilt, whatever you want. Throw it on a gimbal. You want to plan out your shots and get some movement in there. It's going to be way more entertaining. I mean, think about it. How little entertaining has this video been constantly looking at me while this camera's on a tripod? And finally, sound. Now, I know that's not directly related to the camera in any way, but sound is actually more important than the visuals themselves. And so if you want to elevate your videos that much more, look into sound design and Foley and obviously music and things like that, and mixing it all together to create something that's cohesive. And you'd be surprised if you start researching that stuff, how deep you can actually go with sound. I mean, again, there's literally people who add in the rustling of clothing into the movies and have dozens of layers of audio tracks for every single moment. You don't need to go that hard, but definitely paying attention to sound and using that to elevate and add more depth to your video can be super helpful. So there you guys have it. Hopefully this video was valuable in some way. You could get a better look as to how these phone manufacturers are creating these promos and what they use and kind of the different tactics they use, fooling you into think that you could do this all by yourself without any experience. That part is BS, but you can use more simplified versions of all these tactics to elevate your videos that much more. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button. Give me some comments down below recommending different video topics or software or anything you want me to check out on this channel. And don't forget to get subscribed and come back for the next video in the edit place. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.